Hello everyone and welcome. How do you feel about firsts? How about the Marvel movies? Well, if you like those things, you're going to want to check this one out because we're checking out Marvel's First Family. I'm Mike and this is Mike's After Action Reviews, and this is the rapid action review for Fantastic Four First Steps. Alright everybody, as always with our rapid action reviews, we are going to be trying to keep this thing moving at a fast pace by cutting out some things that we normally cover in the after action reviews. So starting with production, the Fantastic Four First Steps was released on July 25th, 2025. Its production companies were Marvel Studios. It was written by Josh Friedman, Eric Pearson, and Jeff Kaplan, and directed by Matt Shakman, with Michael Giacchino making the music. So the cast is Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards or Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, who is the Invisible Woman, Eben Moss-Backrack as Ben Grimm or The Thing, and also, by the way, Backrack? B-A-C-H-R-A-C-H. I've made mistakes before with pronouncing people's names. Let me know in the comment section down below if I did it right that time. Also, we have Joseph Quinn playing Johnny Storm or the Human Torch. Julia Garner playing Shala Ball or the Silver Surfer. And Ralph Ineson playing Galactus. As far as the movie's plot, the runtime is 1 hour and 54 minutes, and the IMDb plot summary is as follows. Set against the vibrant backdrop of a 1960s-inspired retro-futuristic world, the film follows Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm as they face their most daunting challenge yet. Forced to balance their roles as heroes with the strength of their family bond, they must defend Earth from a ravenous space god called Galactus and his enigmatic herald, Silver Surfer. And if Galactus's plan to devour the entire planet and everyone on it weren't bad enough, it suddenly gets very personal. So basically, I can tell you that that is exactly what happens in this movie, and I'm going to get into the essence of that in my sustains and improves, but I mean, like, this is exactly almost the exact scenes of what you're hearing happening here, like what you would imagine in your head, almost like a trailer jumping from scene to scene, is exactly how this movie goes. And if you've already seen it, you'll know what I mean as far as the editing and everything, but I'll cover that in my sustains and improves. But this is the quintessential Fantastic Four storyline. You know, the Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer, and Galactus is like the most well-known, biggest storyline plot for the Fantastic Four. So, pretty good production potential here. There's a couple of things that I'm not liking so much, but we're going to get into that in our final statement of review score and our sustains and improves. So let's get into those. So starting with our sustains, honestly, guys, I have one sustain, and that is the retro future aesthetic, basically how like the 60s and 70s viewed the future, what they thought the future was going to look like. The aesthetic here was really good, and just the aesthetic of the characters as far as the suits they wear, the technology they use, the Fantastic Car, the Baxter Building, all of that looked really great. But to be honest with you, that is the end of my sustain, so let's get into the improves. So first of all, casting and characters. We have Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards. Pedro Pascal is a great actor, but he doesn't really fit the character in my opinion. Someone like John Krasinski, like we saw in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, would have been a better fit in my opinion. I just think that there's something a little off about the character. Okay, then we had Shala Ball. Okay, two things. Julie Garner does fine, but Shala Ball was just not the way to introduce the Fantastic Four into, and the Silver Surfer into the MCU. What you want to do with characters like this is you have at least in my opinion, I think it would have been better to have the main Silver Surfer, and then you bring in novelty versions of the characters later on. Okay, kind of like they did with Deadpool and Wolverine. They showed all the different versions of Wolverine. So I think that they could have done better with the casting of those two characters. My second improve is there's just a lack of action. You don't really see these people, these superheroes, using their superpowers enough. Even in the original movies with Fox, like those aren't the first Fantastic Four movies that were made, but the Fox movies were more of dramas rather than action movies. But still, you got to see them use their powers and do some things that were pretty cool. My third improve here is that there is no real character development. There's a couple of little things. We're going to get into why in my next improve, but there's a couple little things you get, but basically we don't spend any time with these characters. We don't feel anything for any of these characters. And that kind of feeds into my fourth improve. You get a bonus improve today, but less sustains. And that is very bad editing. This movie was edited like a trailer or a fight scene with too many cuts, like those bad fight scenes where like the punch is being thrown and then you never see it land, and then you see the guy go like that and you're like, wait, so yeah, and it just, you can't really tell what's going on all that much. Basically, in the trailer, you'll see a scene or something really quickly happen, and you'll think to yourself, "Oh, wait, that's going to happen in the movie. Cool! I can't wait to see how that gets there." Right? Well, in this movie, imagine that stuff that you saw in the trailer. Okay, put it on like a timeline. Like, okay, here's that scene. There's a couple little things that'll happen, obviously, because the trailer is like 2 minutes long, and this is a full-length movie. So, but basically, in between all the major plot points, instead of having characters, spending time with the characters, having characters talk, and they're not doing anything major, but we're just getting to kind of spend time with them. Instead of having that, it's montages. Everything is montages. So you don't actually get to spend a lot of time with the characters, okay? And it basically makes the movie feel very edited. You can definitely tell they cut a bunch of stuff out here, and it fast paced. And it was very jarring and just wasn't satisfying. One way that you can for sure see that they did a lot of editing is that Galactus says something, and for the people who've already seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, I believe. But basically, up in his ship, Galactus said something to the Fantastic Four, and you're like, wait, when was that introduced? When was that a thing that they talked about or led up to or alluded to make us, to make this a payoff for something? We're getting the payoff without getting the actual, hints at that, that's going to be the thing. And if you know the characters, you're going to know about it before you even go into the movie because it's in the comics. But if you don't know the characters, it's going to be a little bit weird. There's another thing where there's a scene where Ben Grimm is walking past a school and the kids are like, "Oh, lift up the car," and he picks up a car and they're like, "Oh, throw the car," and he's like, no, I can't do that. And then a teacher comes out and says something to him and basically talks to him and says like, "Hey, how about you come by next time and say hi?" And he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll do that." Never brought up again. Clearly there was scenes that were cut out that were going to build some kind of relationship between the Thing and this woman, kind of like we got similar in the Fox movies or, even in the comics. So basically, guys, as far as my final statement of review score, I'm just going to come out and say, look, I thought this movie was below average. It's too fast. They don't give you enough. It's all montages to string the plot points along. And you could, like I said, you can definitely tell that it was over-edited, however you say that. It was edited too much. There were too many edits. But guys, look, that's all I've got. I mean, I will also say, being that this is the second film, superhero movie to come out in the same month of July, Superman definitely won the battle for this one. Superman was way better, and it's going to make more money as well. So we'll check that out in the next action update. But that's all I've got, guys. I want to thank you all for watching and just say God bless you all, and have a good night. Don't forget to check me out on Twitch and join the Discord where you can voice chat with me while I live stream and you won't be recorded or anything on YouTube and Twitch, so that's pretty cool. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. If you like to read, you can see my after action reports on my blog. And if you are interested, you can get some merch from my spring store. The links for everything are in the description below.